In today's episode, I'll be giving my review and reaction for the 2017 film Molly's Game. So let's jump right into Molly's Game.
Do something, man. People are questioning you. Shut up. Shut up. Okay, yep, do that. Sure, guys. Stupid and dumb. Just an idiot. Get your shit together, son. Fuck it. I loved it. Welcome to the dub cast.
Molly's Game was released on September 8th, 2017. The genre is a biographical film. The runtime is 2 hours and 21 minutes. The budget is $30 million. The director is Aaron Sorkin. So, of his movies, I've seen A Few Good Men, which is a very good movie. The Social Network, also a very good movie. Moneyball, pretty good movie. Don't have a lot of memory of it since I watched it a long time ago, but I would say Molly's Game may be the worst of those movies I've seen. Let's dive into it. He was a writer for all those movies. He was not the director, so he did have a writing role in all those movies. Not the director, but maybe you could have learned a little something. No, we'll talk about it. So this movie stars Jessica Chastain, Idris Elba, Kevin Costner, Michael Cera, Jeremy Strong, Chris O'Dowd, and Bill Camp. So what I do in these movie reviews, overarching review, I give my review, give a score, compare that score against other movies reviewed so far, and then I go into my thoughts and reactions throughout the film, giving my analysis and takes. So, starting off this review, I think this movie was decently compelling, pretty solid. Middle of the movie, I thought was the strongest part of the movie. I don't know if I was a fan of the switching back and forth between the present and the past, but I guess it kind of needed to play out that way in order to tell the story they wanted to tell. Especially, considering what happens in the present, you need to explain the past to get to the present. I wonder how the story would have been different or how the movie would have been different if they just laid it all out in a straight line instead of cutting back and forth. I don't know if I like the cutting back and forth. If I'm being honest, Jessica Chastain's performance as Molly was good at points, but it was pretty hard to fully get behind her as at points as a main character, just due to her being pretty conceited. Not sure if that was on purpose. I'm sure it was because in order to have that role that she did have, she kind of had to be conceited, and she obviously that's one of the main struggles of the movie is her being very, you know, self involved and very like she believes in herself a lot, and that's good. But it was just kind of the way her tone, just the way she was speaking, it was kind of hard for me to get behind her. I don't know, just felt like it was hard to follow, not follow, but just like be behind her as a main character. But I think there's a pretty good story about a business where it's usually dominated by men. So it's nice to see a woman take control of a card game like this. I thought that was a pretty interesting dynamic that plays out throughout the film. You see most of the guys like fall in love with her throughout the movie, her players at the game. So that was an interesting dynamic. Obviously, this happened in real life, so the real Molly, this is just her story. But in the movie, it was cool to see that perspective. I thought the other cast members, Kevin Costner, Idris Elba, Michael Cera, and even Jeremy Strong, all did a great job playing their roles. Especially shout out to Kevin Costner. They kind of buried his storyline for a minute. I thought the storyline between her and her dad, who's Kevin Costner, was slightly underdeveloped. He just disappears during like the middle half of the movie, but kind of he's there at the first like quarter, and then there at the end of the last quarter. I thought that was kind of underdeveloped, especially when they wanted to do like shock value at the end when he's there at the end to help her. I just thought that was kind of underdeveloped, but the payoff was nice at the end of the movie. I also don't really like the ending. It makes the movie seem kind of meaningless. She's gonna get out on like community service and do nothing, and it's just kind of like I get the movie. The point of the movie is to tell her story and tell like the perspective of her, but like what was that was kind of just a lame way to end it out in my opinion. I guess she's going to get back up again. That's the whole point. Is the movie started with her skiing, the movie ends with her skiing and getting up again. But that last lawyer conversations were kind of pointless if she was just going to end up pleading guilty. All those lawyer conversations throughout the movie, like what were we doing if she was just going to plead guilty the whole time? Why'd you go into Idris Elba's office and like make all these demands and be all weird about it if you were just going to plead guilty? I don't know. The ending didn't really move me that much. It also kind of ends on a whimper with the back third of the movie being probably the weakest from my perspective. Like I mentioned before, I really like the middle of the movie when she's running the games and stuff. I thought that all the like elevations in that storyline were very intriguing. The back half of the movie, or not the back half, the last third of the movie was pretty standard lawyer talk, kind of boring stuff going on. Kind of slows down a little bit, so I didn't like that aspect of it. I thought this was definitely an interesting concept though, and I would recommend this movie in spots to people depending on their interests. You know, if you like poker movies, I'm not sure if this is really like a poker movie. Like, what's that good poker movie I'm thinking of? The one with Matt Damon and the Oreos and the milk. You know what I'm talking about? It's eluding my mind right now. That's a good poker movie. This is not really about poker. It's kind of about running the games. So overall, I'm giving this a 7.6. Thought this was a decent watch. I'm not mad I watched it. I thought it was a decently compelling story. I just thought some of the stuff on the back end of the movie basically could have been fixed. And I'm not sure, Jessica Chastain gave the strongest performance, if I'm being honest. But who am I to judge? I'm no actor. I just thought that, she's not that compelling as a main character. Could have done better in parts, but I did give this a 7.6. I thought this was a pretty strong movie. There were some emotional moments at the end. Like the combo with her dad was really good, and that was like one of the best scenes. But it was like just underdeveloped, So I can't elevate this to an 8. Seven, mid sevens kind of seems right for this movie. So where does this 7.6 compare amongst the other movies we reviewed so far on the Dubcast? Let's pull up this graphic. So this movie comes in at number 22 of 33 Dubcast movie reviews so far, putting it in the top 2/3. This ties The Little Things. If I had to pick between Molly's Game and The Little Things, I would pick The Little Things slightly over this movie. I thought there was more intrigue, especially at the end. That movie's kind of building, 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 and then the climax happens. This one's kind of just like climax, and then we're down. Like, you know what I mean? It's just downhill. So I would pick The Little Things if I had to pick against both those 7.6s. So this does beat out other movies that were mostly about card games. So Hard Eight, obviously being the lowest movie on the graphic, this beats that. This beats Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, which was also mostly focused on a card game. So Molly's Game, best card game movie we reviewed so far. And this is comparing actors. We have Jeremy Strong in this one. I gave The Gentleman a 7.8, a stronger score than Molly's Game. So this is worse than that. And the 7 category is becoming more and more popular. Most of my movies are 7 and 8. So most of these movies I'm watching are good, man. People are giving me good recommendations, and I've had this list for a while. We're now under 70 recommendations. I have like 69 left. We'll see what happens, but let's wrap up with the Dubcast graphic, and let's get into my overarching review. Quick side note, actually, before we get into that not overarching review, thoughts and reactions. Apparently, Player X, played by Michael Cera, is Tobey Maguire. And, I was on a train watching this movie. I had a little bit of spare time to go on the train, so I looked up some info. Wow, man, is Tobey Maguire an asshole? Everyone loves him, but if he was really this Player X character who's kind of an asshole, or is an asshole in this movie, I thought that was very interesting. And, if this movie excited you or you didn't know that little small fact, I would go and check it out. There's some good stuff out there on how Tobey Maguire was in fact Player X, and I'm wondering who else was implicated in these games as well. Who else she was referring to throughout the movie? I think it was all kind of held up legally. Obviously, the whole point of the movie, or not the whole point of the movie, but her in the movie, she doesn't want to explain who did what and who did this. She kind of keeps that under wraps. But kind of interesting that it was Tobey Maguire. Especially I had one perspective of Tobey Maguire. It's kind of shifted a little bit now. Apparently, Leonardo DiCaprio is involved in some of the games. Maybe I don't know. Just thought that was an interesting note before we get into my thoughts and reactions. So let's start with the thoughts and reactions right away. First scene of the movie is background about our main character, Molly. She's smart. She's a skier. She has got scoliosis when she was 12. Dude, scoliosis is like I'm worried that I still have that. Being tall, you're apparently susceptible to it. I remember in middle school when you have to stand up against a wall and it's like your back might be fucked. My check-in like 4 years ago at this point, they said I might have scoliosis, but that doctor may be just an idiot. So I don't know. That scoliosis kind of like triggered me, But Kevin Costner is her dad, so I was hyped about that. Kevin Costner I can't say he's my favorite character because he kind of did some wrong things in the movie, but him as like a dad figure type, honestly, I need to see more Kevin Costner movies. Him in Draft Day is unbelievable. I kind of really liked him in this movie. I know this is probably like me just hyping up movies that most people don't think are that good, but I don't know. He was hyped as kind of like the cold dad. So she, of course, trips over a little pine cone, massive fall, and she says "fuck you" to the person who says the worst thing in sports is fourth at the Olympics. I mean, there's a huge montage of sports moments, and it's like, is really fourth place at the Olympics the worst thing that can possibly happen to you when you're on national TV in front of everyone? Like, what about being told all through high school you're gonna like be a star and whatever, and you don't do school and like you crash out and just do nothing, you end up on the street? Like, I think there's a lot of people who would argue with the fact that being fourth at the Olympics is the worst thing you can possibly do. I mean, I get it, you don't get a medal, but it's like we're really like going to some dramatic conclusions right off the bat. Obviously, she was, she wasn't gonna get anything because she fell. So yeah, even I agree. I agree. Fuck you to the person who says Olympics is, or getting fourth at the Olympics is the worst possible thing in sports. Because look what just happened to my girl Molly. Look what happened to Kevin Ware. Look what happened to, I don't need to go on. Crazy. So yeah, I thought this was a pretty interesting intro to the movie because it's like you're thrown right into this Jessica Chastain character, and you're like, who is this woman? Because I didn't. I had this. I just recently added this movie to my list, like not that long ago, and I was wondering like what this movie is really about, and this doesn't really tell you much, but it tells you a little bit of background about her character. So this was a nice segue slash introduction into her character throughout the story. So we continue on. Now we flash the present day where she has an arrest warrant for running an illegal gambling operation. So the police just come to her house, and this is what is a scary situation. You just wake up in the middle of the night, and there's just a million police around your house. You don't know what you did, although she doesn't know what she did. She admits to the cops that she hasn't run a game in 2 years, and she says to bet heavy on the favorite. I don't know. Like, this was a weird scene because it was like, oh my god, I'm being like harassed, and they're like shining a flashlight in her eye with the guns, and they're like, come out with your hands up, and she's like, I haven't run a game in 2 years, like just openly admitting that. Like, you're supposed to be this criminal mastermind. Not she's not a criminal mastermind, but it's like you ran illegal, like not illegal, but you ran these games for 2 years. You know what you're involved with. Like, don't end. I guess she's already implicated, but it was like, what are you doing? Just saying that and bet on the favorite. I was like, what does that even mean? Um, be it as it may, that's what happens. I mean, she's arrested, so it's like right off the bat we get her backstory of her falling on the trail, and then now she's being arrested for illegal gambling operation. So be it, right? So we get more backstory on when she recovers. Not well, she recovers from her fall on the ski, and she's a waitress at a club, and then meets Jeremy Strong's character. She starts working for him. He basically is just a shitty boss to her, but he helps her set up and organize this poker game. Um, and this is like a weird dynamic at the beginning because it's like it's kind of like he doesn't like her, but he likes her because he trusts her to set the poker game. Um, and it's him and a couple buddies playing poker for high stakes, and then we meet Michael Sarah's character, aka Player X. He tries to say something to her about her boss at the beginning, and this doesn't really end up going anywhere, I don't think. But you know, he comes over right away, and then she's basically dismissed after that. After the first game, she rakes in $3,000 in tips. Whoa! I mean, but I guess if you're playing like a high stake poker game, there's the dealer and then her. That's it. Tipping the dealer, I think, is useless. I still don't know why people tip the dealer, if I'm being honest. And I mean, I've never really played card games at casino. I played card games with my friends, but like, why do we tip the dealer? I don't know. Just seems like maybe for good luck. I don't know. But she gets 3K just for setting up the game, setting up the money. She's an attractive young woman with a bunch of guys around. You're gonna get some money. So this ends up being a pretty good side hustle for her for the most part. Now, flashback to the present. She is in the law office of Idris Elba. And right away, I was like, we got a stacked cast. I've already seen Jeremy Strong, Michael Cera, Kevin Costner, and Idris. So it's like, whoa, four killers, like four great actors, man. 600 agents arresting 31 people at the same time. What kind of sting operation is that? I've never heard of that many people, but I guess that's how Molly got implicated with her first, or her arrest. Obviously, we see how that could potentially be possible throughout the game she plays, or the game she runs, but like you're spending 600 agents on this like illegal poker operation. How do you get the people who are human trafficking, the people who are killing people and serial killers? Where's the 600 agents to get them, bro? I wonder if that's an accurate number. That was just an exaggeration for the movie. That doesn't seem real, but who am I to judge or say? So back to the past, Michael Cera is player X, and basically he's just an asshole at the table. He just tries to ream people. He's like the best player there. He wants to embarrass people and make sure that that everyone knows that he's the best. Molly, while these games continue to go, she picks up steam, inviting players and learning information about the world. She's just sitting there with a computer for hours on end, like not really watching poker. So she picks up like classes, looks stuff up, just really becomes like smarter, which is that's a good strategy. Might as well do something while you're just sitting there. That's what I like to do when I'm just sitting. Like you got to be doing something else. Can't always be snoozing and missing out on potentially learning or seeing something that wouldn't have seen before. So I like that strategy from her. So after going back and forth in his own morals, Idris Elba does decide to be her lawyer after all. Not a surprise. You're not just gonna bring in Idris Elba to be this actor who's gonna be like, fuck you. Obviously he's like, I'll do it for you. Weird scene at the courthouse when he's like standing and then talking to her and then sitting and then talking to her. He's like, sit in between us, don't sit in between us, whatever. But he is going to be her lawyer after all. So we get more backstory on Molly and her dad. So she has decided that as a teenager, obviously a teenage girl, what can you expect? But at the dinner table, she just decides to be a rebel for no reason and against her dad, especially, and she calls him a quack. My friend, we have a running joke from high school with me and a couple of friends about people calling people quacks. So that would just made me laugh when she called her dad a quack. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that's like I don't know what if that's like an offensive insult. If it is, I'm sorry, but I have to laugh. That's funny. Um, so yeah, like obviously we learned later on what the dynamic was that made Molly this way against her dad, but it was kind of like we're just being vindictive for no reason. I mean, Kevin Costner seems like a chill dad, bro. Like I don't know. So Jeremy Strong's character in the present day no longer will pay her to be assistant. He's too high maintenance, and she's too nice and respectful and just doing everything right that he can see that she'll potentially take his game over if things keep going the way they are. So over a little spat, he's no longer going to pay her, just paying her to be the assistant. The game is her job, or she's not. He's not paying her the assistant wages, just making the game or just running the game is her job. She also gets fired after this because she's like, I got to work during the week. I'm just going to sit around and do nothing. But she gets fired after that, doesn't work out. And she now is going to run her own game after switching all the location and all the details of the game because she had all the contact information of everyone. So she just said, come here instead. Had her own game, got the dealer, just stole the game from Jeremy Strong. And we don't really see Jeremy Strong again, so I'm wondering where his character went after this. He's just like, all right, I lost the game, man. My time has passed. See you later. I don't know. I just hope best for him because it's Jeremy Strong, Kendall Roy. Pouring out. Anyways, Levy from The Wire is her first lawyer that she figures out the legalities of her operation, make sure everything's running cleanly, everything's cool. And this is funny. He's just like the scummy lawyer that's like, yeah, that's probably legal. Like, I'll back you up if you need it. So I like seeing Levy from The Wire. Also represents Avon Barksdale and his crew in that show. So obviously, if you haven't seen The Wire, go check that out. Player X, we get more and more about Player X. He was kind of the central figure in bringing the game to Molly from Jeremy Strong's character. He doesn't just like poker, he likes destroying lives. Yeah, man, if this is Toby, whoa, bro, like, what's your problem? I guess some people just have that competitive spirit, and if it comes through poker, this is how it is. So he doesn't want to just beat people in poker, he wants to destroy their lives, keep taking all their money. I don't know, man. I didn't really like Player X's motivations in this movie. Seemed like he was kind of always playing at another hand, but who am I to say? I don't know. I wasn't there at those actual games. So back to present day, her hard drives are very incriminating. They have all her texts and all her emails because whenever she plugs her phone in to her hard drives, it just updated. What hard drives does she have? And if I have these hard drives in this computer, am I like, does this computer just have all my texts and all my calls and emails and everything? I mean, I got nothing to hide, but like, is that how that works? And what is she attaching a drive to the computer? Or is it just a hard drive in the computer? because if I have to get a new computer, like, do I just smash this thing in a million bits and like get rid of the hard drive? Like, I was really kind of not really understanding what that was. Um, Hopefully, it's just a drive you attach because I've never put a drive on this. I know a hard drive is like the little thing you plug into the USB, but it's like I didn't see no USB on our computers, and maybe I wasn't really paying that close of attention. But was this just like a plot point to move the story along and make sure she had evidence to dump at the end? I don't know, but the logistics of this seems a little sketchy, man. If everything we, I always press don't allow on my phone. I'm just hopefully they don't have it. Just not whatever. Anyways, so we've met this character named Harlan. He is a high roller. He's one of the best poker players there. He's even better than player X. He was recruited from a casino. He plays it right. He plays like I play, honestly. Fold most hands where you don't have shit and then go in on when you do have them. I don't really bluff. I don't know if Harlan really bluffs, but basically he's been high rolling at the games for a while. He's been winning. Everyone knows he's a winner. Everyone wants to take him down. But he's now crashing out. He loses all of his money in one sitting. He's on what's the term? On tilt. He's fucking Phil Hellmuth in every like on tilt clip, except he actually needs to keep playing and keep buying in and just wasting all of his money. He spends all of his money. His wife files for divorce. He misses her surprise party that he was bragging about a couple hours ago. He doesn't have the money. I personally thought when he was like on the balcony, like tweaking about his life, I thought he was going to jump off the balcony, but he did not jump off the balcony, thankfully. Luckily, Harlan's still out there somewhere. We learned that Player X has actually been bankrolling him. He has a deal with Harlan to basically bankroll him and then he gets a cut because Player X can just control his life basically by bankrolling him. So now he gets Player X after this all comes to light. He gets upset with Molly for not taking an interest in him. Come on, like poor Molly, man. This is like the epitome of being a woman in this field. It's like you have no chance because all these guys are fawning over her, and she's like, I just want to make money and go home and like have money and prove it to my dad and be cool. We don't even see her get romantically involved with anyone. I thought she was going to kiss one of these guys or something, but I don't even think she did. So good for her. She was able to keep out most of these people, but it's like Player X, you're just getting rid of her because she hasn't taken interest in you. She's got to run a game, man. She can't have any personal connections or else it gets sketchy. So I'm on Team Molly for that. Fuck you, Player X. So she lost the game to him now. So now she has to move across coast because she now lost this game to Player X, who basically, this was just Player X's game because he helped her move it off from Jeremy Strong, and now he had it in that hotel room that she was with him. And now that he's done with her, it's his game still. Like, he'll just find somebody else. But she gets out of there. She moves to New York. She starts a game in New York for $250K with a Yankee everyone wants to lose to. That was her selling point. And was this Derek Jeter? Maybe A-Rod. A-Rod maybe seems like a little bit of a gambler, but I haven't actually done any research or I haven't seen anything on that because my beautiful TV Time app, no one was really talking about the Yankee because I didn't even remember that this came up. Maybe it was Derek Jeter, maybe it was A-Rod. I'm not really sure who else would be relevant. Posada, I don't know. Mariano Rivera, he doesn't seem like the gambling type. I don't know. Someone let me know in the comments if you do know who the Yankee was that everyone wanted to lose to. But the main point here is that the Russian Jews now get involved into this game. They are involved in this case. We don't quite meet them yet. So we meet Steve from Stranger Things. He stiffs her cheating money by adding chips. She catches him on the monitors. Respect for just having like a gazillion monitors. She's like, look at this monitor, you just cheated. And then, being a woman in the field, she's more susceptible to being like scammed and just being attacked by the guy, but she's so powerful and she's very, what's the word I'm looking for? Not intimidating, but like respected, that he's like, I gotta get the money for you, I'm sorry. So she's really running this game well. She picks up on everything, everything's running perfectly. So this person named B forces her to start taking money from this woman's kind of evil, bro. She has like these other girls that she meets in the clubs and stuff that help her run the game. She has B force her to take money from the game, and then she pops a fuck ton of pills. Like, B is a terrible influence on my girl Molly. Who knows what Molly would have been if she never met B? But this is gonna be the beginning of her downfall. Is right as soon as she met B. No B, no jail, no anything, no illegal gambling operation. Because as soon as she took her own take, that's when it becomes illegal. So eventually, the Russians obviously do end up joining the big New York game. They're kind of not intimidating at the beginning, but I don't know. I don't know if I'd want to have Russians involved in my poker. Like the way that they were describing, obviously, Russian people are cool. I know some Russian people, but like the way they were describing the Russians, I would just want to keep this pretty chill. But that sense of wanting to get more money and get it even more big and whatever, you have to bring in the Russians. So we have Bad Brad. He is this down bad guy for Molly. He's another one of these love interested people, and or no, he isn't actually. Bad Brad is the one who's just horrible at the fucking game. Um, he keeps losing. He shows up and loses money every time. This time he goes down and lists all the players in the game for the FBI. Um, yeah, not great for her. Bad Brad was kind of a goofy character because he just reamed Harlan. The one time Harlan like overthought if he had something, he had nothing. But Bad Brad is just a funny kind of side character throughout. So once she is now included in the Russian Jews start making their way to her game, she is now pressed by the crime syndicate of New York at a little or a restaurant gathering. She declines to make a bigger game with them. She goes home. Her package man, who's a complete fucking scumbag, says, I got a package for you. I'll bring it up right away. So she goes to answer the door, and it's a fat old man who robs her, beats her up, holds her at gunpoint. This is not a reminder. She needs to join this big game with them now, or she's going to be toast. And yeah, this is pretty humiliating. He takes all of her money. This was scum. But it's a crime syndicate. You know you're getting yourself involved into. I mean, you're on your own take at this point. So my what's the word? Empathy. My empathy for Molly was starting to fade a little bit because it's the classic telltale story of people just wanting something to be bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's like, let's just calm down a little bit. Like you can just have a chill, like nice 250K game. You're making a lot of money. You're making a living off this. You need to get bigger and bigger, but whatever. So the mob gets rounded up right after this. Luckily for her, she's kind of like in this 2-week off period where she doesn't want to do anything because she's scared of that encounter, obviously. But they all get arrested, get rounded up. She has 1 week to try and reclaim her money. This to me was like she's just one of the other gamblers. Like they're all like Harlan was like, I gotta get my money back. Bad Brad was like, I gotta get my money back. That's why I kept playing every day. She's just like one of these gamblers, bro. She's gotta get her money back. Like that's kind of what I was seeing in that through line there. So Doug was the person I was talking about earlier. He was actually an FBI informant. So he was kind of this another lousy player who would just always stay late and talk to her and try and riz her and just do horrible at it. But he is an FBI informant. She's about to make her way to her game. But he calls her from the bathroom. He's like, hey, I blew it up. I'm an FBI informant. Sorry, I love you. And she's like, all right, I guess I'm not going to my game. So yeah, back to the present day, which we haven't been in a while. We have Idris Elba, the lawyer, defends her. Kind of gives a nice speech. He's kind of right, but also kind of capping. He defends her pretty well, but it's like he's kind of exaggerating some things. She trades. Once this meeting is over between her lawyer and kind of the judge, or not the judge, but the people on the other side, the prosecution, she needs a walk. So she trades her expensive gloves to skate and then trips and falls. And who is there who yelled to her and made her trip and fall? It's Kevin Costner, baby. Dad is back right when you need him. So yeah, this is probably my favorite scene from the movie, just knowing everything we know and all the lead up and build up. So he says her addiction was power over powerful men. True that, bro. We've seen that throughout all the games. As soon as she loses power, she loses everything. When we saw that with the first game she ran, we saw that with this now with the crime syndicate. She was down bad. So what really happened at the beginning was she saw him in his car cheating at a very young age. That memory was repressed in her mind and always made her think less of her dad. And then since then, she had an underlying contempt for him. Dude, Kevin Costner in this almost made me tear up, bro. After being gone for 2 hours of the movie, he came back. I almost shed a tear. Like, this was very emotional for me. I really did appreciate this scene. This was my favorite scenes in the movie. So, yeah, he kind of gets her back on the right track. Like, you got to get back up again. You got to figure it out. She thinks that he cared about her less, but he's like, no, I love you no matter what, even though you're arrested and kind of a dumbass for running a poker game illegally, but that's all good. So yeah. So how we wrap this up? The lawyer is meeting with her for a final briefing, and he says the reason that he took her on as a client is because his daughter read her book and asked him to be her lawyer. Now they have a new offer on the table, and she was taking the walk. She can hand over the hard drives in order for the money back that she lost from the crime syndicate, rather than 42 months in prison. So what would you guys do in this situation? Would you take 42 months of prison and admitting you're guilty? Or would you take I'll hand over my hard drives and I'll get all the money back that I lost throughout this whole movie, that the whole point of the movie was to get the money back. Or at least the back half of the movie was to get the money back. What would you guys do? Okay, enough time. You'd plead guilty and go to jail, right? What is she doing, bro? Like, just take your money, go to fucking Lithuania. There's no one gonna get you. The mafia's all rounded up. These people are all famous, yeah, but you give them the logs, they're gonna go down too. Ask for witness protection. You have money, whatever. But it's like, I guess the convo with her dad's like, just be like, admit you're guilty. I have to defend my name. Honey, you're gonna be in trouble either way. How are you defending your name by admitting you're guilty? It's like that was just kind of very shallow. That's why I didn't like the end of this movie. This is dumb. She's gonna plead guilty. So, like I mentioned before, she gets off easy with community service and 1 year probation. And at the end of the movie, she gets up after her skiing accident and says, "I'll be back," or always get up, whatever. Good final message, but it's like the way this all played out, man. I really didn't like the end of this movie. It is what it is, though. I thought that this was a fun story throughout. Really, just the ending and the last couple scenes and storylines, kind of besides the costume and everything, that almost made me cry. Kind of did me in, but so yeah, I landed at 7.6. Like the first 2/3 of the movie are great and a fun story to ride along with. And this isn't a terrible, I'm not thinking back in this movie like that was like the worst ending ever. And I wish I get it. She's just so self-confident, so self-interested. I think that's when I look at it from that lens, then I can kind of calm down. But I'm like, that stressed me out, man. It didn't stress me out. I'm just pissed. I wouldn't do that. But it's Molly. Props to her. She's out there in the world. She's doing interviews now. She wrote her own book. She has a movie about her. So props to you. She was a woman in a very non-woman friendly industry. So props to Molly. Good story told. So that'll wrap up Molly's Game, man. What did you guys think of Molly's Game? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Am I too high on it? Am I too low on it? What were your thoughts on the ending? Did you almost cry? Or did you cry with the Kevin Costner scene at the end, even though he was gone for like 2 hours? Yeah, so that'll do it. More content on the way. NFL streams weekly. We had a great one this past Wednesday. Cam and Mikey joined me in person. Next week we'll be back virtually. Survivor every week. More movie reviews coming. Next one will be 310 to Yuma. After that, TBD. But as always, stay tuned for more content. Appreciate you. Leave a like, leave a comment, leave a subscribe, leave a dislike if you want to. We're on TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, Twitter, Instagram, everything. So give us a follow. Stick along for this ride. And as always, be easy.